You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box. What on earth's he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. I feel it. Do you feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
You're probably a bit confused right now. I broke the glass. It's all come back to me.
What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're gonna love this.
Hey there, listeners, and welcome back to Earth Station Who. It feels like it's been forever since we've talked to you guys, but we have a really great episode for you guys tonight. We are going to be looking at The Face of Evil, the story that introduced Leela as a companion, and boy, did she come on with a bang. It was a lot of fun to see this one. It's been years since it's been in my viewing, so it'll be really interesting to hear what Mike and Mary have to say. And speaking of Mike and Mary, let's say hey to my co-host for tonight. Let's say, of course, hi to Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
And we have the lovely Mary Ogle here, too.
Hi, everybody. It is great to be here.
It is really great to be here, and we definitely would love to hear from you guys. You know, how are you doing? You guys surviving okay? Please write us at earthstationwho@esonetwork.com. And, you know, we definitely would like to hear, you know, did you guys go to Virtual Dragon Con? Did you stay up at 5 a.m. to see our panel on Dragon Con TV? You know, we actually were up there. We actually were on main programming. I was pretty impressed. And so we definitely would love to hear from you guys. And what were you guys' thoughts on it? Did you guys watch anything? Did you get to see us? Because we also had a separate panel with Doctor Who 101, and we were up on the BritTracks video feed on that one. You could actually find that up on YouTube. So shouldn't be all hard to do that. So pretty awesome. So Dragon Con has come and gone, and it's hard to believe that 2020's Dragon Con is behind us. It wasn't that much work because it was all virtual. So we didn't have to worry about getting con crud or COVID or anything else, except for maybe those of us who drink all weekend. You know, you have to live up to a tradition somehow. So it should be a lot of cool stuff. So we're going to talk for a few minutes about it. Mary, did you catch any of the Dragon Con stuff over the weekend?
I did watch a few panels. It was a lot of fun, but it was kind of bittersweet because we weren't there. And I really missed a big part of Dragon Con for me is just seeing all my friends and who I never see except at Dragon Con. And so I did miss out on that.
Oh, totally agree with that. And it was kind of bittersweet. Like while we were watching the virtual parade, seeing some friends. Oh, I know that person. I know that person. Oh, there's that costume. I remember seeing that one. And so it was kind of neat to see, and it was a great idea. And kudos to the staff of Dragon Con, you know, for doing the way putting up a great virtual show. And we'll talk about that all. And, you know, Mike Gordon, I saw you quite a few times on the different, you know, programs and such, not just main programming, but some of the other tracks and such.
Yeah, I got to do a little bit more panels than I usually do because I didn't have a table that I had to physically be at. But they allow us to set up virtual tables, or I should say a table in Virtual Artist Alley in the marketplace there, which was nice. And I do appreciate everybody who shopped around and added some of my stuff to their orders. I appreciate that a lot, actually. But otherwise, yes, I got to partake in a number of panels and some tracks that I've never experienced before. I've never been on a panel in the American Sci-Fi and Fantasy Media Room, Kelly's room. I've never got a chance to do that. And I did three panels for the Brit Tracks. We of course did two as Earth Station Who, and I also did one on the 42nd anniversary of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with someone who's a guest on our show quite a bit. Rob Levy was on that show. Mm-hmm. And that was a lot of fun, and I had a blast. A lot of them were pre-recorded, and the one on the Hitchhiker's Guide was live during the weekend, and almost all of them are still available. So if anybody missed out on any of our panels, and you don't have to be a DragonCon member to watch any of these, all the content was free. You can, like Mike said, I think the Brit Tracks has a YouTube channel and a Facebook page, and you can go check out our panels there. The only one that you can't see there is the one that, ironically enough, is the one that aired at 5:00 in the morning, which nobody was probably awake for. So I think that's still available through DCTV, but I'm not sure. I haven't been able to confirm that yet.
No, exactly. It is through DragonCon TV, and I know they're doing a year subscription to DragonCon TV for only $10, which is not too shabby. And you could see all the content up there that they put out on their app and online. And so I think starting today, it's all been taken down from the free site, and it's behind a paywall now, so you have to pay the $10.
Yeah, I did pay the $10, but my subscription hasn't kicked in yet. So I checked to see what the layout looked like, and it's not set up yet. Understandably so. I mean, there are a lot on their plate, and I don't mind. I mean, it's perfectly understandable that they're taking like a day or two to breathe, because I'm sure it was like you said, Mike, it was a tremendous effort to put this thing together. Nobody got paid for it.
Yeah, they did an amazing job in a very short amount of time.
Yeah,
exactly. They did a great job. I did a total of 16 panels. I went through.
Wow.
And basically 8 of them were taped. Actually, 9 of them were taped, and 7 of them that I did were over the weekend. But, so I did that. I did quite a bit with the new media track, which is basically, podcasting. I did an intro to podcasting track, Podcasting 101. I did a Why Should You Be on a Podcast Network, the pros and cons. I also did, what it's like to get a guest for a podcast. And also I did how to build a podcast for the podcast network. But I also did an Abbey Road panel for the Brit Tracks. I also did a Westworld panel that was also live. And then I also I moderated the Watchmen panel over the weekend. And so that was through Kelly's track, and that was a ton of fun and everything. So it was neat to do that kind of stuff. But then pre-recorded, we did the two Earth Station Who ones. We also did 2 Earth Station 1 panels. We did of course, we did the pre-recorded, which was played before. We did Airplane and Airplane 2. But we also did, for the weekend, we did 12 Monkeys and we did Real Genius. And then I also, for the Brit Tracks, I also did 2 James Bond panels. I did the Spy School one, which was a lot of fun. I did that with Van Allen Plexico. And it was a ton of fun to do that, to talk about what it's like to be a secret agent and what it takes and everything. And then we did a regular James Bond, talking about, the history of James Bond and such. So that was a lot of fun to do. So, we did a ton of stuff. I'm probably forgetting 1 or 2 other panels that I did. So it's just hard to remember. There was so much apple pie over the weekend. I just didn't know if I was coming or going. So it was cool. So,
well, of course, I took part in the 12 Monkeys panel for Earth Station 1, and I also did 2 panels for the comics track. One was my annual Art of Tiki panel, which was great fun, and we got some people that normally don't get involved with DragonCon to be part of that panel. And that was the benefit of having, the virtual con. You could get people people could experience it that don't usually have anything to do with Dragon Con. So I think it opened it up to a lot of people. And then I also got to moderate a tribute panel, a remembrance panel to the Denny O'Neil, who we lost a few months ago. So that was really a special moment for me as well. And those, like the others, are available on, the comic ones are available on their Facebook page. They don't have a YouTube channel. So it does get kind of confusing because every track was doing something a little bit different. Some of them were on YouTube, some of them were on Facebook, some of them were on Twitch, some of them were, so...
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that got a little crazy. It was kind of like, the newbies who are going to hotels trying to figure out which hotel to be in.
I actually really missed doing that. I know. There were probably a ton of newbies, people who had never gone to Dragon Con were able to experience the panels and everything for free. And so it was like dipping their big toe in. It's still nothing like the real thing.
I saw a report that said that there were over 600,000 views of content across. I think we're just talking about TCTV here.
And that was our 5 a.m. panel, right?
Yeah, that's
599,000.
And that's pretty incredible when you consider, Dragon Con usually gets 85 or so thousand people. So I mean that blew up that number. Of course, it's probably a lot of the same people, but and whenever the cool thing about it is whenever I tuned into one of the panels that was airing that I was on, whether it was pre-recorded or not, I could see how many people were watching. So, like when I watched the parade, there was 300 and some people watching it with me. During some of our panels, not quite as many. Maybe 30 or so, but still, that was pretty fun.
Bad.
No, I'll take that.
I'll never complain about 30 people listening to us.
I really wanted to check out our 5 a.m. panel to see how many people were actually
get up
viewing
at
that.
4:30
You know what? I got up at 4:45 and I thought I could do this. I'll watch it. Next thing I know, it was 6:30. I went right back to sleep. So it was a
valiant effort.
Yeah, so unfortunately I didn't get
to Mikey.
See that live either, but I would have been that was the one I was most curious about, how many people are actually going to watch this. And I don't know.
They would have had one if you stayed awake.
I know, right? I should have just put up the app anyway and just
just let it play.
Just let it play so there'd be at least one person watching.
Yeah, come on, taking one for the team, Mikey. Where is the?
Yeah, we all should have done that.
Exactly.
Right, we should have.
We should have, but damn it, we didn't. But yeah, it was a fun time, and I just had a great time. And thank you to everyone from Dragon Con who included us in it. It was amazing. I always feel honored when I'm asked to be on a panel or moderate. It's like, me? Okay. It's like, I guess we're doing something right in a lot of ways. So it's pretty awesome with that. And you know what? I'm just glad to be able to share it with you guys and do stuff like this with you guys. And that's the best part about it, is being with my friends and talking about geeky stuff. What did you guys think at home? Did you guys watch Dragon Con at all? Did you I know some people who have been thinking about coming to Dragon Con have been, over in the UK. I'm not naming names or anything. Shush, I wasn't naming names.
I will.
I hope he was able to catch it to see get a little bit of a hint of what is in store if they're planning on still coming next year. So it would be great to see him and Helen, to come to the show. So it should be a lot of fun to, for people wanting to and everything. But, what did you guys think? Write us, earthstationwho@esonetwork.com. Definitely would like to hear. And if anyone was up at 5 a.m., did you like the panel? That's the question. That is the big question. Let's take a quick break, and we will be back in a moment, and we are going to be talking of the face of evil.
Monster Why so glum, chum?
Oh, hi, Bane.
I have to write a promo for my podcast.
For you should do something like, I am the monster, and I could kill you, but instead, I will simply break you if you don't listen to my podcast.
I think that's a bit much.
I don't see how that's a problem.
The Monster Sci-Fi Show is part of the ESO network. It's sci-fi.
From a certain point of view.
Hey kids, let's go back to January 1977, and we are going to be talking about The Face of Evil. That's right, folks. A 4-parter featuring Tom Baker as the Fourth Doctor. And this is right after The Deadly Assassin. So the Doctor is on his own, and he stumbles across Leela. And then the sparks started. It was kind of interesting. You know, because Leela was a different companion compared to anything you had ever seen on Doctor Who before. So this was something, you know, I think it was kind of daring, and I think it was very well, I don't know how well, taken it was by the audience, but I know a lot of the male audience liked it, but, you know.
And it was a lot of the female audience liked it too.
Good point. Good point. That is a very good point. But it was very interesting because, you know, most of the time the reporters or scientists or, you know, people, secret agents who were the Doctor's companions before this, school teachers, they never had someone who was a true warrior. Jamie, maybe a little bit, but
sort of, kind of.
Yeah, but you didn't really have anything like this, especially a female, which was really awesome.
Yeah, Leela's the best thing about this. I mean, it's a good story. I actually enjoyed it, but Leela just really shines right from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. If she hadn't been a companion, it would have been definitely, she would have been high on the list to be a companion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she wasn't supposed to be a companion in the beginning. They weren't going to make it. She was a one-off, but then they decided to make her a companion, and I'm glad they did.
Mm. Well, I know that when she was cast, by that time they knew.
By that time they knew, yes, when they were first writing it.
Right, when they were first writing it, because Tom, as we all know, Tom didn't want another companion. He kind of liked the freedom he had with Deadly Assassin, and he just wanted to do his own thing and have his own adventures. And it is weird, very surreal at the beginning of this adventure when Tom just looks right at the screen and breaks the fourth wall and just like starts talking to you like you're the companion. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting idea, and maybe if they'd gone with that, it would have worked. Because look,
I don't
Tom's
think
one
you
of the
could sustain it though.
Well, Tom's one of the few people that could pull it off. You know,
I think it would have got old after a while.
Probably, yeah. Plus, you need somebody in there. I mean, you know, somebody with a character. I mean, the best companions are characters, are great characters on their own, not just companions, not just set pieces, right?
Right.
Definitely not. You needed someone who was strong enough to be able to, you know, put up with Tom, be able to, well, you know, I hate to put it that way. Yeah. But you did.
He needs somebody to play off. You know?
Exactly. And, you know, coming off Sarah Jane, who in a lot of ways was almost equal with it. And, you know, she didn't take a lot of the Doctor's BS. And you wanted another companion that wouldn't, especially Tom, who, you know, with the Tom Baker Doctor, he always was the smartest man in the room, you know, whenever he came in.
He certainly thought he was.
Well, of course. Well, duh. So, but yeah, and that was always interesting. And you, I think with Leela, you ran into that. And right from the very start, you know, it was real interesting. And the story really captured, you know, how their relationship was going to be right from the very beginning, which was kind of nice.
This is, it's a Tom episode, so it's not by any means the first time I've seen this one. I have vague recollection of seeing it back in the day when I first started watching Tom, because I do, Don't know why. I do. Leela made an impression on me as a young teenage boy. Not sure exactly why I would remember her in such fondness, but I do. I do. And I don't remember. I didn't remember the plot or anything like that until I recently watched it, and I'm surprised we never reviewed this one before, actually. So.
No, I was actually shocked. Like when one of us picked like one of our favorite, old series Doctor Who. I'm sure I was surprised this was not number one on Mike Gordon's list. Leela.
There are better Leela stories. Leela's great in this one, and it is her intro episode, but this is not her at her best, I think. But like I said, it's pretty, I think it holds up. As Mary kind of hinted at, the plot in this is just bonkers. That's a good word for it, right? It's like, it is a mess in some places. But the characters are pretty interesting. The acting is great, I think, overall.
The secondary characters are good too.
Yeah, absolutely. They make an impression. That's, this is done during my favorite time of Doctor Who. Philip Hinchcliffe is one of my favorite showrunners, and there's not really any, well, I don't want to say any, but there's not too many bad stories during his run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Philip Hinchcliffe.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorites too.
I mean, he's partly responsible for that, but also Robert Holmes, the script editor, doesn't hurt either.
Yes, that's very true.
Between the two of them, I understand it was Philip's idea to have for the story to involve the Doctor being there before, and to have his huge mug carved in stone there. So, which I think that thing still exists somewhere.
I'm sure it probably does.
I hope it does.
Yeah, I would hate to think, it might be in some museum or something next to the Holo Switty carved into the,
Tom has it above his fireplace.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Oh, of course.
Or in his front yard.
In his garden. Yeah.
Was this the first story that actually kind of hinted at the Doctor having adventures between the TV shows and stuff like that?
It's not often. I can't think of another offhand. I can't think of another instance where that happens. Right.
Because I think they hinted that he came to this planet right after he regenerated before and everything. So it was like somewhere in the robot era, type thing. And so, before they went off to do the whole thing with Ark in space and all that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean, apparently in that Terrence Dicks wrote the novelization, and apparently he expounded on that and said that it was in that time period, and that it was because the Doctor was so disoriented from regeneration. That's why he made the mistake and forgot to remove his personality. It's interesting that because he left his personality in the computer, that drove the computer insane.
Well, if I had, Tom Baker's personality put into me also, I probably would also.
I think they make it clear it's because it had multiple personalities, not just because it was his. Because it had two personalities to it.
Well, but that's why it splits its personality.
Right.
Because he leaves his behind.
But I do think it was a pretty bold move to also not only sort of hint that or basically state that the Doctor's had adventures outside of what we see on television, but also that sometimes the Doctor messes up.
Yes.
Like the Doctor thought he was doing a good thing, sure, but turns out that this whole planet has been generations of people have been affected by his bad judgment here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, if it was later on, if it was like in the Moffat era or something, the Doctor probably by this time he came to the planet hadn't done it yet or something like that. It's something in his future or something. But I do like the idea that, the Doctor, always, tries to say, oh, I'm always perfect. I'm always right. This shows that he's kind of infallible and everything too, that he can mess up.
Yeah, I think that it makes him a more interesting character if he can mess up. If he's just perfect all the time in every way, then then there's no story there. It gets stagnant. So it was a very interesting take, and they did it well. I think the first two parts are better than the second two parts. Like, I have to say, the third episode is just filler. They're just running back and forth in corridors almost the whole time.
And
welcome to the Tom Baker era.
The tests are not nearly as interesting.
No, the tests are not interesting at all.
And they dress funny.
They look like they should be on playing cards, like they're jacks or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or Alice in Wonderland.
Weird choice. Like, I'm like, what techs dress like this?
Only the Tesh.
Well, and it was interesting how when they figured out that they were all the descendants from the spaceship and, from Earth, it was just like, oh, that's who they are. Bum, bum, bum. But they've done this story so many times. Hell, this is basically the same story that created the Daleks almost in some ways, with the Thals and the Daleks.
Yeah. Well, that's just a sci-fi trope anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's just been used so many times. But it's okay. I mean, they did a good job with it. I mean, it doesn't really matter that the Tesh are nothing because they're not that big of a part of the story.
Not really, yeah.
Yeah.
No, they weren't. And it was like, I was kind of disappointed because I wanted to see them do more with them. I hadn't seen this probably since the late 90s. So it's been over 20 years since I've seen this one.
Do you feel like it held up? Yes and no.
Yeah, yes and no. There's things that did held up, like, Tom is just awesome as always. You can't go wrong with Tom, but some of the story was just kind of weak, especially like you said, the third episode. I was like, get on with it already, get on with it and everything. But it was interesting to see where they were going with the story and the final, the end of it, and then Leela joining up with the doctor and everything. It was just like, I was not surprised, that she didn't want to stay with her people and everything. 'Cause,
Well, they had basically kicked her out.
Yeah, the first thing that we see is them kicking her out. So
right.
She's like, screw you guys. But at the end, they're asking her to lead them. And so, yeah, that's another reason why she's like, you know what? No.
Yeah, exactly. F you.
I am the only woman on this tribe. So
that was ridiculous. I'm like, I'm wondering how did all of you get here?
Yeah, she's the only woman on the planet now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm. That must have been interesting in the evenings.
No wonder she wants to get off. She's like, can I get off this thing?
Like, I'm exhausted.
Oh, that's a picture I just didn't want to have in my head. Poor Louise Jameson. No.
Yeah, it's bad enough she got the Savine all over her. Now she's got a new bunch of guys, the Tesh, chatting her up. She's like, I'm leaving.
She's like, I'm out of here. Better to go with the one guy in the box.
Well, exactly. And especially because they're all savages anyway. So that poor girl never got any sleep. No wonder.
Wow.
Well, this episode's really degrading quickly.
So what was your thoughts when they first revealed, the whole thing that the doctor was the face of evil? Were you guys surprised? Were you like...
Well, not really, because they kind of implied it already.
Yeah.
And it sounded like his voice.
Yeah, I connected with his voice right away. So, yeah, you knew something was up. So by the time you do see it at the end of the first episode, it's cool, but it's not like, a stunning surprise. It's not a shock.
I mean, it's kind of a cool effect for that time.
Yeah.
Oh, the hologram? Yeah.
Yeah.
Effects for the most part in this one are all right, I think. There's a couple of dodgy things, but for the most part, I thought, I just wish that, and, granted, with HD capabilities now and all that, the jungle looks kind of impressive, but it looks like a bunch of, air tubes or whatever, like that are just dressed up. And I wish they just would have gone that extra mile just to do something more with the tubes to make them not look like tubes.
Yeah, but I mean, they probably didn't look like tubes when you were watching it on your little TV back then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it didn't. I'm sure it just looked all murky and cool and atmospheric. But now you can just, you're like, yep, that's a tube, just with a little bit of stuff on it.
I mean, I actually thought the sets were pretty good for the time period.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a jungle set. And,
they used a lot of dry ice.
Oh, God, yes.
There's a lot of fog.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like it was funny when they were running through the jungles and into the spaceship. It's like, wait a minute, I saw that scene. It's like, oh, they reused it over and over.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
And so it was just interesting. I'm glad, the doctor was able to fix the computer at the end. And it was not like he had to destroy it and leave, society ruined or something.
The other big thing about this one too is that Leela right away is introduced as a person who's not afraid to kill.
No,
not at all.
She doesn't think anything of it.
She's just gonna stab you.
She's just gonna stab you, and you're gonna not be able to move for a few minutes, and then you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And that's not a problem for her at all. The doctor right away tells her never to do that again. Of course, we know later on she does a couple more times, but she doesn't get quite rid of those thorns. And but yet, it seems a bit hypocritical because there's times where he's like, well, I'm just going to take this thing and flap it on that guy's back, that soprano slug or whatever. And I'm just going to kick that guy into an electrified wall. It just seems like sometimes it's a little hypocritical of it.
Well, the doctor is one of the biggest hypocrites there is out there a lot of times about stuff like that.
Yeah.
He has no problem, going out there and, basically, using Venusian judo on somebody and, he just happened to fall into the pit. Oh, I'm sorry,
I didn't mean to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or he basically just kind of uses other people to do his dirty work.
Brigadier, come here. The Brigadier would have no problem. If it was okay for the Brigadier to kill somebody, but Leela, no, that was not,
I mean, I get it. The doctor doesn't walk around with poison thorns and use them on anybody who's just walking around. I think it's, obviously if you're directing this at kids, it's a good message not to kill, right? So,
of course.
And the fact that she's even introduced as a killing person at all goes to show you just how grown up the show had gotten over the years. I mean, this is its 14th season, and this is not something that any of the companions prior to Leela probably could have gotten away with.
No, because it was always, evil to kill and type thing. Oh, the bad guys always killed, but not the good guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see Susan or Zoe or anybody just stabbing people.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have.
Did Jamie ever kill anybody? I don't remember.
Good question. I
don't remember.
I don't remember.
Unless they were British, because he was Highlander,
Well, he was I've never even, read or know what happens on his origin story. So is he a warrior as well?
Oh yeah. He was a, Clan MacCrimmon, type thing. And, they were Highlanders going up against the British Army. And so it was, this is all, if you ever watch Outlander, it's the same era that series started in, was where Jamie came from. This is before.
I just didn't know if in his introduction, if they showed him actually killing anybody.
I don't think he killed.
I don't think they show him.
Because I've never seen the Highlanders, but I've read the book.
Yeah.
And, of course, it was another Terrence Dicks novelization. So
you don't know how much he embellishes, right?
Well, exactly.
Or corrects.
or fills in.
Right.
I mean, usually his version is better in some ways.
Well, if you think about it, though, truthfully, when we saw Jamie leave in the War Games, they sent him back to the Scottish Highlands. First thing he does when he goes back, he sees a British soldier. What does he do? Chases after him with a knife, I don't think that's going to end let's play Parcheesi.
Probably not going to end well.
Yeah. It's like, so we're not going to be playing Parcheesi with the British, basically. So it would be interesting to see. But, let's get back to Leela. And I'm glad they obviously, as her character evolved, she became more cultured, but this was Leela in the raw, as I like to say.
Just about.
I mean, Leela's basically the only one who's thinking for herself out of the tribe or out of the Tesh. Most of them are just kind of slaves of Zoannon, doing whatever they're told, or they're kind of drunk with power or trying to achieve power.
True.
So I thought that was great about her character, actually. Mm-hmm. She's the one who breaks free.
And she wants more. She doesn't go into the TARDIS by accident. She goes in there because she wants to learn more. Now she's got a taste for that. There's other things out there. She wants to be part of that.
Mm-hmm. And, right from there, it's like, you see her, she is a fascinating character from when they first show her. And, I liked her from first seeing her because I will not say I didn't see her before that I saw her in this, because I had seen the Talons of Wei-Chiang first. That was my first ever Doctor Who episode I had ever seen. But she wasn't like, she was dressed, in the English,
right. Yeah, it's very different.
It was very different. And then I didn't come back to Doctor Who for a little bit. And then when I came back, it was still the Doctor and Sarah Jane era. So I worked into it and everything. So this was my first real experience with her when I saw it. And I liked her. I thought it was pretty cool because you had, Sarah Jane was the only other companion that I knew and everything. So
it's a pretty good, I don't know if we've ever rated them before, but it's a pretty good companion introduction story. You like her right away. They did their due diligence in making her a good character that you wanted to see her travel with as a companion. Mm-hmm. And she learns a little bit. She grows as the story goes, and that's good. They don't get a chance to do that often. Usually they just sit around and be like, "What are you doing, Doctor?" or screaming or whatever. Mm-hmm. But she's a woman of action.
Yeah, she's a fully realized character right from the beginning.
Yeah. And
that's awesome.
And it starts here and it goes right into, it just gets better and better for her. Like she starts here and then she goes into Robots of Death, which is pretty cool. Talons of Wei-Chiang, which is great. And then Horror Fang Rock, where she's amazing. And this run of her and Tom's is really great. It's some of the greatest Doctor Who stories in a row that you can find.
Oh yeah. And it's boom, boom, boom. This is Tom fully in stride. This is him. I think we said the same thing about him when we talked about Deadly Assassin on the show. But, this is him fully in, stride. He's so comfortable. He is the Doctor. That's why, and that's probably why he wanted to be on his own. Like I could do it myself. I have enough personality to fill 2 companions.
I think part of that, look, obviously part of that's true. Tom is Tom, right? But I do kind of wonder too, is if he, he had his first companion was Liz, and they did develop quite a good friendship and bond. And I do kind of wonder if he was just thinking nobody can replace her, so why should we try?
Right. No, exactly.
And Tom was always about doing different things. you know, trying to push it. So trying to take Doctor Who where it hadn't gone before. So I fully admit that Tom Ego was like
that was his companion.
Exactly. Tom's
his
ego is his
companion.
Exactly. And there's hardly room enough in the TARDIS, as big as it is, for anybody else. But yet, on the same token, I do kind of, you know, I mean, it was probably, you know, everything else he's in charge of and in control of. Because from what I understand, even when they were casting her and talking about her and all that kind of stuff, the producers were like, he was not interested, didn't show any interest at all. And as a result, ended up treating Louise really poorly, I think, too. And I do wonder if he was, you know, just a little bit like, you know, coming off a big relationship, like just not wanting to jump right in.
No, totally understand that. I think it's, you know, I've always heard that they had a really bad relationship until much, much later.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, I heard that too.
And which is sad because she is the nicest person. When I met her at Dragon Con, at Hulanta.
Right.
The same year you met her, Mike, that, you know, she was very nice, very sweet, very open, was willing to talk about anything. And, you know, it's like, man, Tom must have been a monster to not like this person.
Yeah. Yeah. I put that solely on Tom.
Yeah. Well, he just didn't give her a chance from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, it's your job on your show to welcome everybody, you know, and to make sure everybody there, especially when you have that sort of presence on your show, it's your job to make sure everybody there is comfortable. And yeah, he dropped the ball. I mean, later on, he said he didn't even realize what he had done. He was so consumed with, I don't know, himself.
Being Tom, yeah.
Being Tom. But what's really cool is that, you know, some of that shows up on the screen, and I think it helps a little bit. You know, the relationship that they have, it is sort of like, you know, like Doolittle and whatever the professor's name is there. Like, it is really like My Fair Lady,
Higgins?
Pygmalion kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like it really does get that sense. There's no, despite the fact that, you know, every other man watching is like hot for Leela, like, you don't get the sense that the Doctor's interested at all, and that's good. That's something they would not be able to get away with now.
No. God, no. If it was now, it's like, God, it would make 10 and Rose look like nothing. Probably now. It was like, it would have been bad. It would have been very, very bad. And that's what I used to say, you know, that there wasn't any hanky-panky in the TARDIS, you know, and everything before that, you know, before the new series. And it was like, that's one of the things I loved about it. The Doctor was not asexual, but he was not interested in the companions type thing.
Well, that always feels creepy to me, the Doctor and a companion, because it's such an uneven power dynamic.
Yeah.
So how can you even have a real relationship? I mean, it makes more sense with the Doctor and River because she's more on his level.
Oh, God, yes.
But like the Doctor and Rose, I know people love it, but it kind of creeps me out.
Yeah, it does. Well, that's why I liked her in 9. You know, I thought it was more of...
Yeah, she and 9 were great.
Yeah, it was... The relationship there was so much better. And, you know, and then 10 was just like, oh, it's a boyfriend and girlfriend roaming the universe. Yeah. It's like,
but
no.
I do think, even though getting back to this era, I do think that you find Tom's relationship with Romana, both of them, much, much smoother than this one. And
that also is more of on an equal level.
Right. Well, that's true. That's true. But I think it serves its purpose here, you know, even if it wasn't great behind the scenes. I think in front of the, like, you know, while we're watching, that dynamic works for us. You can, even if they weren't consciously presenting it that way, it's still there and it fits. So It fits with them, and Leela's introduction is way better than her exit, which is true.
Oh, yes, God.
Which is true of so many companions I know.
Yes.
It's a shame because the story that she's in, her last one, is pretty good, but her exit is like one of the worst.
Well, it's so out of nowhere. It's just
there's like no thought put into it at all.
Oh, by the way, Doctor, I'm staying here because I fell in love with this person I just met 5 minutes ago.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
And plus, it's just so out of character.
No.
For her, it just.
No, agreed.
That's really the only stain on, I think, her run. I think, starting with this one, like I said, going into this season and next, I think most of those stories are strong and she's strong in them.
Cool. No, I think that's awesome. All right. Any final thoughts before we go ahead and rate?
Yay for Leela.
That's cool. All right. Let's go ahead and rate then. 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Mary, since you're so enthusiastic about Leela, you get to go first.
Oh boy, this is hard because Leela's better than the story. The story's not horrible, but it goes on too long, like a lot of them do. There's a lot of filler. There's a lot of filler in the middle, and the Tesha blah. But Leela is fantastic. So I think I'm going to give it, just for Leela, I think I'm going to give it a 3.75.
Wow.
I might give it a 3 without Leela, just for the first 2 parts. But
Okay.
Leela is wonderful.
No, totally understand that. Mr. Mike.
I get along the same lines. I think if Leela's not here, this gets 2.5 or 3. With Leela, I'm giving it a 4.
Wow.
I almost gave it a 4.
I will stand behind that. It is worth watching. I've seen it multiple times. I can watch it again and again. She and Tom, not just her, but she and Tom are great. And they really pull this story together, even though there's a lot of nonsense going on around them. So it's not the best, so it's not a 5, but it's good enough, great enough actually, and to give a 4.
Okay, I'm going to give this one a 3.5. Probably like it would have gotten a 2.5 without Leela. No, but it was entertaining. It held up for me because, like I said, I haven't seen it probably in 25 years. So it's been quite some time. So some of it was new to me because I had forgotten, and just getting old really sucks sometimes. But I enjoyed it, but I found myself like starting to surf the net during the 3rd episode where, hey, checking email or something. It was just like, it wasn't holding as much as I was hoping. And some other Tom stories have where I don't even want to look at my computer. And so 3.5, I think, is being very generous for me. So, we definitely would love to hear from what you guys think at home. Please write us at earthstationwho@esonetwork.com. All right, folks, that wraps it up. We definitely hope you guys are staying safe. You guys are doing okay. On behalf of myself, let's thank our co-hosts. Mary, want to promote your stuff?
Yes, you can find me at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVisionArts.
Excellent. And Mr. Mike?
As always, it's my pleasure.
Excellent, folks. And, folks, just, thank you for sticking with us. If you were up at 5 a.m., thank you. We definitely, we want to find somebody who actually did watch it at 5 a.m. It would be great to find that one person who did, because I'm sure there had to be at least one. So we definitely would love to hear from you guys. Thank you for all the support. And we got some big news probably coming our next episode for fans of the podcast. Remember, folks, if you do get a chance, go onto iTunes or Apple Podcasts now, sorry. but or Google Play or Stitcher or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts at, and give us a rating. We would love you guys to give us 5 stars. It would be awesome. Review our show. Let us know. Let people know what you think about us. That's the best way you get us out there to more and more people. And we're going to be popping up at more and more places. You never know where Earth Station Who is going to be coming to you from, but this is your way to show some gratitude, show some thank you, Mike, and Mary, for doing a podcast for almost over 250 episodes. It's our way of letting us know that you guys are out there. And we really do appreciate each and every one of you. We don't say it enough, but we do. So, just go ahead, rate us. And, it's our way of saying, help, please. So it's a good thing. So we will be back again in 2 weeks. We're going to be back on our 2-week schedule from here on out until new Doctor Who eventually comes back. And we are going to be looking at Planet of the Daleks. So we're going the 3rd Doctor era now.
Woo-hoo.
So that should be a lot of fun. And it's going to be a 3rd Doctor story I have not actually seen before. So this is going to be an interesting one for us. And we'll be joined by our friend Randy Stewart. So it should be a lot of fun to talk all about that. Until then, my name is Mike Faber. On behalf of myself, Mike and Mary, we will see you here next time on the Earth Station Who podcast. Peace. And we're done. Boom.
Yay.
That was fun.
Yeah.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.